Hey all, Eskie here, bringing you some more Deadlock gameplay. So short intro about who I am. I have been playing the alpha since about May. I play in fairly high MMR lobbies. I have a bunch of hours on the game. Geist is actually one of my main heroes. So I wanted to bring you guys this video about how to improve at Geist. Now, I'm going to assume you have a lot of basic knowledge about the game, last hitting, minions, objectives, killing the patron to win, and we're going to kind of try to build on that with some more intermediate knowledge. So one of the first things off the bat I wanted to talk about was basically two builds you'll see with Geist is either you'll see gun build or bomb build. So I actually pretty heavily prefer bomb build, and the main reason for that is the 5 you get on bomb build, where bombs leave a toxic mess in the ground, dealing some extra damage. So bomb build merely means going bomb first, maxing all the way to 5. Sometimes you'll see people get, maybe the first point in 2 because of that extra damage. But ultimately, the first thing you're building is you're going all the way up to 5 in essence bomb. And what that gives you is it gives you a lot of farming potential. And what I mean by that is, especially when you're transitioning to the mid game, you're going to be throwing your bomb down on camps, and having that extra damage over time is going to help you clear that camp even quicker, which means you're able to participate with your team more, or you're able to push objectives more. It just frees you up because you're able to farm more efficiently. The other thing that you're going to be able to do is you're going to be able to control lanes really well, because especially mid game, when you're going to want to be around your team, you'll be able to throw a bomb into a lane, and if it's a well-placed bomb, you'll actually one-shot the minions with the bomb. So those are some really important things that you get to do with bomb build that gun build will struggle more with. I actually think that bomb build's actually higher damage over the course of the game as well, just because when you think about it, bomb's AoE damage, gun's not really AoE damage. And I think there could be an argument made that, hey, just because it's more damage doesn't necessarily mean the damage is useful. Obviously, you want kills instead of just damage. But I think that bomb build just has a few advantages over gun build. So let's talk about a few things when it comes to Geist in lane. So the big combo that you're going to want to hit in lane is hitting your malice right before your bomb explodes. So that actually means throwing your bomb first, then throwing malice out and trying to hit the malice as your bomb explodes. And with the malice, you're stacking damage amplification, which is a huge part of Lady Geist's kit. And the way that Lady Geist does damage amplification is actually, in the early game, you're probably not going to get more than maybe 1 or 2 stacks on a person. But in the late game, and you'll see the way that I build her and a lot of other high-level people build her, you're going to build her pretty tanky, because the way that you're going to want to operate is you're going to constantly throw out your malice so that you're stacking that damage amp, and then eventually you'll hit a big bomb. So we can talk about skill build here right quick in the early game. Like I said, I think you'll see a decent amount of Geist getting this first point in life drain. And a big reason for that is the extra damage early on. I think it can really help you in lane fights. But besides that, I don't really get any other points besides this 1 point in life drain. I'll go all the way up to 5 in essence bomb after that, just for the reasons we talked about. It gives you a lot of clear speed. So in lane as Geist, you have a lot of great harass. I think there are 2 opportunities you should really look out for when throwing your bombs, because if you telegraph your bombs, let's say the enemy is looking directly at you, maybe there's no cover between you two, and you just toss a bomb out there, it's going to be pretty easy for that person to dodge that bomb, assuming that they have stamina. So the 2 opportunities you're going to try to look for when you're throwing bombs out there is, let's say the enemy's hiding behind cover. Like, let's say if we look at this piece of cover right here with this, is that a bird, an owl, a fox, something? Whatever that piece of cover was, if you actually throw the bomb into that piece of cover, it will hit the person on the other side. So let's say that Viscose was standing there trying to last hit, so I wouldn't harass him. If I throw my bomb at that, then it will still hit him through that cover. And not only that, but he's not going to see the bomb coming. So it's going to be much harder for him to dodge it. The other good time that you want to hit bombs is when, like right now, which I missed, but the theory is good. It's that when someone is trying to last hit, especially under their tower, and they're about to get a minion last hit, you can throw a bomb at them, and it kind of gives them a choice, right? You're choosing between taking that soul when it floats up or dodging out of the bomb's AoE. So it kind of gives you the opportunity to steal more farm from them, because usually you'll see people dodging out of that bomb instead of going for that last hit. So that kind of opens up your opportunity to steal their farm. So we can talk about my build here. In the early game, I think there's kind of two things that you want as Geist in the early game. And we can talk about specific items, but I think it's important to keep in mind that Deadlock is still pretty like actively developed, and there's still a lot of changes that happen to items. So this build can be invalidated in the next patch. But basically what you want to go for is you want sustain, because Geist does damage to herself as she's trying to do damage to other people. And I'm even going to have to go back now because Viscos was harassing me so hard and I don't have my healing right up. But you're looking for sustain and you're looking for damage. So for sustain, right now, I don't know about in the future, but right now Restorative Shot is just great value. Having the bullet resist, weapon damage, and the sustain all in one package for 500 is really, really great. And then healing right, I think, I don't want to say it's a requirement on Geist. It's just the best sustain item early on. And so that makes it a great item for Geist, because you're going to be throwing a lot of bombs out, you're going to be throwing a lot of malices out, and that's going to be doing damage to you. The enemy is going to be harassing you. So being able to have that best sustain item is going to help you stay in lane longer. The one important thing to keep in mind about healing right, though, is if you get damaged by a tower or if you get damaged by a player, then healing right's gone. You can get damaged by minions, and let's read the wording here just to make sure I'm right. So it gets dispelled if you take damage from any players or objectives. So basically towers or players, you're going to lose the healing right effect. So you really need to make sure you're staying behind cover while your healing right's active. And then a few of the other items, I think this is kind of personal choice. You don't have to get extra stamina. I like extra stamina. Obviously, the speed boost is good as well. What is that called? Sprint boots and enduring speed, both great items as well. And then we have extra spirit, burst, and reach. So I think burst and reach are pretty typical on pretty much any spirit damage character right now. They're really great early game buys. I think extra spirit, I think it's open to interpretation. Sometimes I get it, sometimes I don't. But if it's especially big harassment lane like this, Viscos is doing a lot of damage to me. Having the extra sustain that you see with the health regen and the extra bonus health is really nice. And then my first two item, I think this is a pretty core item on Geist, is going to be Berserker. And so Berserker is just such a great buy on Geist. You get so much value out of it because you're doing damage to yourself constantly. Enemies are doing damage to you as well. It's very easy to get the stacks on Berserker. On top of that, Berserker has ammo and bullet resist, so it makes you tankier. And in most Geist builds, the only ammo you're going to get from those builds is Berserker. So that's one of the things I think Spirit builds struggle with on Geist, is there's not a lot of good items that give you extra ammo. So especially in the late game, you'll struggle for ammo. So having Berserker really helps you extend your clip a little bit longer. Oh, that was a great ult by that Lash. I was able to hit my ult on him, though. Maybe we can get the kill here. I think at the very least we'll be able to get the tower. So another important thing to note, I think this is, I don't know if this is beginner level, but it's definitely an important thing, is that everything does damage to towers. And maybe I'm wrong about actually saying everything, but like your Malice, your bomb, that all does damage to towers. So that's actually something that really helps Geist in her split pushing. If you were to go that route, I think Geist is probably one of the best split pushers. Probably not top tier. That probably belongs to Wraith. Oh man, that Vindicta really got me there. I think that was pretty close though. Rotate to someone that's fighting. So when you're split pushing, you're gonna want to be stacking your malice on that tower, because that's really gonna accelerate your damage and make it a lot easier for you to get that turret before people start rotating over. So that's one of the reasons that I think Geist is one of the better split pushers, is she's able to stack that damage amplification on turrets. So the next item I'm getting here, this is Spirit Armor. Just a great buy on Geist. Obviously, most of the damage, most if not all of the damage, I think it's probably all of the damage you're doing to yourself is spirit-based. So mitigating spirit damage is just going to help you a lot when it comes to the self-damage that you're taking. And Spirit Armor actually gives you a bit of spirit power as well. So it's upping your damage a little bit, makes you a bit more tanky. I think that's really a good meta point to make about items I like on Geist. The items that I tend to like on Geist are items that give you tankiness and damage at the same time.
Headed to orange.
So mid game here, what I want to be doing, and this is pretty much any hero, is you just want to be rotating between lanes and farming as much as you can, trying to hit camps in between as well, looking for opportunities to push. So as an example here, if I see enough people on the map, I would probably consider pushing that walker. I don't know if you can overlay the replay right now to show only what I see on the mini map, but basically I didn't see a lot of the characters right here, and I didn't know that they were going to push this walker until I had pretty much already rotated. But if I had seen them, let's say 4 or 5 characters on a map, then I could push the yellow walker and do a good chunk of damage to it, if not take it down. And getting walkers in the mid game is a huge, huge deal. 1 for flex slots and 2 for money. So that's really what you should be looking to do. Either rotating to help your team in a fight, taking a walker, and then just making sure that in between those things, you're going to farm as well.
Swing by anytime. A little bit of the divine right here.
So Spirit Lifesteal and Mystic Vulnerability are my next 2 items. Like I said, I love items that give you tankiness and damage, and that's what Mystic Vulnerability really gives you. Obviously, you're reducing their spirit resist. You're doing a lot of spirit damage, so that's amping your damage. And then it gives you spirit resist, which is something you badly need because you're constantly taking spirit damage from yourself. Another thing to point out on the map as well. So Urn is happening. As you guys can see, Shiv is rotating over to take Urn right there. So one of the things you can do as Geist is, you know, let's say you think they're really going to contest Urn. Maybe they're going to send 4, 5 people over there to contest it. They actually don't look like they're going to contest it at all. So if that's the case, ooh, good swap by that Paradox there. Hopefully we can get this kill. Yep, good kill there. So if you see that the Urn turn-in is on the opposite side of the map that you're on, pushing a walker in that case is a very good possibility if you see that they're going to contest it. If they're not going to contest the Urn, or maybe there's just 2 or 3 of them around there, obviously it's more risky at that point because you could have people rotate to your walker, 2 or 3 of them, and gank you. And Lash was kind of doing something similar there, right? Where he was on the opposite side of the map of the Urn. I don't know if he kind of assumed, hey, most people are going to be fighting for the Urn, so I'm going to push this turret. Paradox and I showed up. We ganked him. So that's something to keep in mind in the mid game when you're looking at the map is where's the Urn turn-in location? What should I be doing? If the Urn turn-in location is near me, you should probably be helping your team fight for the Urn. If not, then you should either be pushing objectives, maybe even pushing into their jungle and taking their farm. So just some things to keep in mind in the mid game there. I probably stole that kill there. I don't know that he was too happy about that. So let's look at skill build here. So like I said, going all the way up in Essence Bomb. Good ult by the good ult by the Infernus there. Got that kill. So let's look at the skill build here real quick. So like I said, maxing Essence Bomb first. That's pretty much the core of bomb build. And then I think this is a little bit more open for interpretation, but I really like to max Malice at that point. I think the +6 blood shards, especially as you get later into the game and team fights are more frequent, and a lot of the time you'll be sitting there kind of poking each other out. Having those extra blood shards makes it way easier for you to stack damage amplification against multiple targets. So that's why I really like to go Malice as my second maxed skill with Geist in bomb build, so that I can really start stacking Malice before the team fight starts. So hopefully when the team fight starts, I'll have a few stacks of Malice on people, and it'll be a lot of damage I'm able to do to them at that point. So my next item here, and another core item I think for Geist and really almost any spirit damage character at this point, is improved burst. So obviously we got burst in the early game, and improved burst is really going to be your main source of damage in the mid game, I would say, before you get any extra damage items. And then I'd also like to talk about kind of overall ideas behind buying items in the game and kind of my personal theory behind it. I think there might be some disagreement here, but usually in high MMR games, I think you'll generally see people will probably buy anywhere between 3 and 500 items. And really you're only buying 500 items in lane, I would say. And the only purpose of 500 items is really to help you get through lane, make sure you're staying in lane, farming efficiently. And then once that happens, you're going to want to transition to at least tier 2 items. There are some characters out there that will save up immediately for a specific tier 3 item. I think Haze and Wraith builds tend to do that right now, where they're saving specifically for Tesla bullets because that helps their clear speed, that helps their split pushing. I don't think you need to do that with Geist. Like I said, I think there's a lot of good tier 2 items that give you a lot of good things like Spirit Lifesteal, Spirit Armor, Berserker. But there is going to reach a point then after you've bought some tier 2, after you've bought some tier 3 items, where you're going to want to stop and then start saving for your tier 4 item, your 6300. And right now, I think probably the most important item on Geist is Leech, which is a 6300 item. And the reason that it's so important on Geist right now, in my mind, is the healing reduction resistance. So popular items to counter Geist are going to be healing reduction items like Healbane, like Decay. Some people will get Toxic Bullets, probably like an Infernus, for example. And that's really going to impair you as Geist because your 2 ability, your ultimate ability, both those are very healing heavy abilities. So making sure you get Leech at a particular time in the game is going to really spike your power. And usually when it comes to 6300 items, I try to get them probably around 20k, depending on how the game's going, maybe a little bit later. Oh man, I got destroyed there. That was some bad positioning by me. Just not paying attention there. So that's one of the things, obviously, in this game. Make sure you're paying attention on the map. They were obviously rotating over to do Earn, and I was not paying attention. I guess I was concentrating on trying to get the Walker, maybe kill that Bebop when he was low, and I got ganked there pretty badly. So let's see if anyone's doing anything while we sit on Death Timer. So getting Leech, I won't say as early as possible, but getting Leech in the mid game is really going to help spike your power. And usually with Leech builds, I also got Healing Booster here as well. Healing Booster combined with Leech is going to give you an insane amount of healing on Geist, and that's really how you're going to survive through fights. Geist is all about sustained damage. You want to stack your Malice and then consistently hit bombs. You're not a bursty type of champion. You're a sustained damage type of champion. So making sure that you can survive is pretty core to how you want to build Geist. And then Healing Booster plus Leech is going to give you that sustained healing in a fight, which is going to make you tanky. And I think you'll see at the end of this game, and at a lot of Geist games that I have, I'm pretty much always top of the healing chart, and it's by a lot too. Sometimes you can hit 30, 40k healing on Geist, which is pretty insane. And it basically makes you a raid boss, which can be really fun to play. So I did upgrade to Improved Spirit here. So I have Improved Spirit now and Soul Shredder bullets. I don't think there's a big use for Geist to spend a lot of money on weapon damage items. You really just want to buy the weapon damage items that are going to augment your spirit damage. Soul Shredder bullets obviously does that. More spirit lifesteal, more spirit damage. And then I have been playing around with Improved Spirit and even Boundless Spirit much later in the game as Geist. I'm pretty mixed about it right now. I think it's a very expensive item. It obviously does give you a lot, but it can delay other things that you really want. And it really feels like, I think Spiritual Overflow is probably better in the long run when it comes to things that Geist wants, like cooldown reduction, more spirit power, spirit lifesteal. So I think I've kind of gotten away from buying extra spirit and buying Improved Spirit and just trying to get Leech earlier and then scale through a Spiritual Overflow later in the game. So right now, pretty far into the mid game at this point. Really what you want to be doing here, and like we're doing right now, you want to be around your team fighting with them. Because if you can get some picks, you're going to be able to get mid-boss, you're going to be able to get walkers, and really solidify your advantage. So in the mid game, what I see a lot of players doing right now... Oh man, that was a big ult by that Wraith. So one of the things I will see players doing a lot that have kind of passed that beginner's point in the game and they're getting more into the intermediate skill level is I think they do too much passive farming. I think it's good to farm and you need to farm, but you want to be farming around your team. Maybe if you've watched some of my other videos, you've heard me say that you really want to farm around your team so that if a fight does kick off, you can be there with them, help them win the fight so that you can take objectives like mid-boss. So we did try to do mid-boss here. I think it was a bit of a risky play. I don't think too many of them were down. I don't know if the call was made to bait them. I don't think it was, if I'm remembering this game correctly. I'm actually going to be a little bit sneaky here and buy Leech in the middle of the fight. I'm pretty low here, so I'm definitely looking for an ultimate. And that's definitely one of the things you want to look out for as Geist. Is in the middle of the fight, if you find yourself low, you want to start line of sighting people. And obviously you're going to give them a choice at that point to where if you're low health and you're line of sighting them, you have ult up. If they come and chase you, then you're going to ult them. So one of the, I think, important things to think about in a team fight as Geist, just like that. I don't know why I backed off there. I think I maybe thought that he had friends with him, but I guess he didn't. So that's why I backed off. And there's kind of an example of bomb build in the mid game. You're able to just throw a bomb into the middle of the lane, and if you can hit all 4 creeps, then you're going to kill all 4 creeps, and you're able to very easily push lanes, you're really great at correcting lanes. So, you know, let's say, for instance, we have the yellow side lane pushing us. It's really easy for me to go back, throw a bomb into that lane, and then immediately come back on the orange line and meet up with my team. So it makes you really efficient at being able to clear those lanes and reset them so they're not pushing into your base.
The spirit urn is waiting to be claimed.
So yeah, like I said, first 6,300 item, I bought Leech. Just such an important item on Geist, and the reason for that is this passive right here reduces the effects of enemy applied healing reduction by 30%. Just huge deal for Geist because her kit revolves around healing so much. And then, yeah, so let's look at the skill build again. So once I get my 5th point in Malice, I'll usually take a single point in my ultimate because it gives me cooldown reduction, and I'm going to be using it a lot more in the late game. So I really want that cooldown reduction to try to make sure that my ultimate is up every single fight. And then after I get that 1 point in ultimate, I really don't think the 2 and the 5 in the ultimate are that useful, at least compared to the 2 and the 5 on life drain. The 5 on life drain is a really big deal right now. Silencing an enemy. Ooh, I got locked out of that dome there. And lash ulted no one. I guess he didn't know the dome was up. See how this fight goes. Looks like we're going to win the fight. We did get Rejuvenator, which is great. And I think we've only lost one at this point. Or maybe she was already dead. So like I was saying about your life drain is such a great self-peeling ability. And especially once it gets silenced on it, if someone like, you know, let's say the Viscose dives me, the Lash dives me, then being able to just silence them and heal through their damage is a great way to peel yourself. So yeah, I don't know if that Haze was going to try to ult there. Thankfully, my team turned on her there. That would have been a really big ult if she could have gotten that off on our backline there. So just some meta points here about having Rejuvenator and using Rejuvenator. We've obviously lost a few people at this point, but one of the big things you want to do with Rejuvenator after you've taken it, you want to do your best to push as many walkers as you can if they're still up. If there's no walkers up, then you want to at least, I would say, get one base guardian at the minimum. So when you have Rejuvenator, you don't want to be AFK farming. You want to be pushing. You want to be pushing turrets, or sorry, guardians and walkers. I'm trying to get my terminology right here in this game. So I still have Rejuvenator, and Paradox does not have Rejuvenator anymore because she just died. But at this point, what happens after you push? You know, what happens after you have Rejuvenator? There's not really any other easily takeable objectives on the map. I think at that point, you kind of want to reset and make sure that you get your next item, hit that next breakpoint. Oh, wow, looks like my team's actually getting some kills out there. So I'm actually going to go back here because I just got my Boundless Spirit, and then Haze is pushing yellow lane. Like I mentioned earlier about Geist, really great at clearing. So you're really great at contesting split pushers because it's going to be really hard to push into you because you're going to be able to clear that wave very easily. So if the enemy team has, you know, characters that like to split push like a Haze, like a Wraith, then it's going to be really great for you to be the one contesting them. I think Geist is one of the best characters in the game to do a 1v1. Even sometimes you can 1v2, especially if you can hit your ultimate. So, you know, you see that split pusher, you're a great choice of character to go contest that split pusher. So yeah, like I said, I just got Boundless Spirit as my last item purchase here. Boundless Spirit gives you a lot of stuff you want: health, spirit power, sprint speed to just get around the map. I think the issue with this item for me, though, I've experimented with it a bit. It's really expensive. Obviously it has 3 different build steps. And because it's so expensive, you're delaying other things. I think Spiritual Overflow is probably, in my mind, a better 6,300 item on Geist. And it doesn't cost as much money because really if you total up Boundless Spirit, it's much more than 6,300. And then, yeah, one more buy here I had. This is just improved spirit armor. So the way that I like to think about spirit armor on Geist, obviously I got the base level, the tier 2, pretty early on. I think once you hit late laning stage, I think spirit armor should be one of your like first 3 probably purchases when it comes to tier 2 items. And then later on in the game, as you get more damage, especially after I got Boundless Spirit, I'm doing a lot more spirit damage at that point. Then I want to get improved spirit armor so that I can mitigate that improved spirit damage that I've gotten onto myself. It does help also that a lot of them are spirit damage. Lash, Viscose, Bebop. Wraith has a pretty good amount of spirit damage too, especially depending on how she skills. And then Haze usually has Tesla bullets, which she does, so that's spirit damage as well. One thing I would like to point out about these 3 bars here is that I think they can be a little bit misleading when it comes to damage type. I think that they're a good reference, but sometimes, for example, like let's say if you go back and look at Haze's build, she probably got Tesla bullets pretty early on, and you would see a huge chunk of the orange bar go up at that point. But really, if you look at Tesla bullets, a lot of the damage from Tesla bullets comes from spirit damage, and you wouldn't see that reflected in those 3 bars. So while it's useful to press tab and kind of get a look at everything, like Lash is spirit damage, Viscose is clearly spirit damage, Bebop is clearly spirit damage, it's not always 100% accurate, and sometimes you got to dig a little bit deeper into these characters' builds and have a little bit more of that advanced knowledge to understand that, okay, well, when Wraith upgrades her 3 and presses it, she's actually doing spirit damage at that point too.
Resource to be spent wisely.
Keep fighting in furnace.
So one more check on my skill build. Like I said, Life Drain level 5 is just really great, especially in the late game for peels. And then at that point, you really don't have any other choice, right? You're maxing ultimate. I just don't think that the level 5 of the ultimate or the level 2 of the ultimate are that game changing. And your ultimate tends to be a pretty long cooldown. So there's just much better things to take in that case, and it's not really worth it to upgrade your ultimate, I think, beyond level 1 at pretty much any point in the game, excluding late game.
To stop Vindicta. Pragmatic, stylish, I love it.
So some more items to think about here on Geist. Like I said, I think Spiritual Overflow is a really, really great item. It has a lot of things that Geist wants. And it's going to give you that extra weapon damage. And that's kind of another thing I'd like to make a point about as you transition to late game. Is I think mid game, you're probably going to stack all of your eggs in one basket, as most heroes. Either you're going to stack all your eggs in the weapon damage basket, or you're going to stack all your eggs in the spirit damage basket. But as the game goes longer, and as you transition to, a later stage in the game, you're going to want to try to target items that are going to give you both. Because if you don't do that, people are going to be able to very easily build resistances against you. So while Spiritual Overflow does give you, you know, the extra spirit. It's mainly a weapon damage item, and it's gonna give you that best weapon damage too.
The spirit urn is waiting to be claimed.
So team fighting as Geist. You want to make sure you're helping your team out. You don't have a ton of crowd control abilities. You don't have a ton of mobility. That's kind of, I would say, the two weaknesses of Geist's kit is she lacks mobility and she lacks crowd control. So in team fights, you really want to make sure you're playing with your team. You want to be with your team as much as possible. And I know that maybe that sounds intuitive, but there are heroes that, you know, you want to flank with. Like for Hayes, for example, if Hayes wants to get a big ultimate off, you want to rotate around the team, try to come from behind, pop an ultimate, and you'll probably get a lot of kills that way. That's not really Geist's play style. You're not going to be flanking a lot from my perspective. Mainly the way that you're going to play team fights is you're going to be with your team. You're going to be poking with your 3, your Malice, trying to stack that damage amplification, and then trying to hit as many bombs as possible. So you're doing that poking, and then when the team fight starts, you want to make sure you're kind of staying with your backline characters because they're probably going to get dove. And when they get dove, you can use your life drain, help them kill that hero, and that hero is going to be, you know, stuck because you're going to be silencing them for that period of time, assuming you got the level 5 in life drain. You also have to be very careful about your positioning when it comes to Geist because, like I said, Geist doesn't have a lot of mobility. One of the things I have started incorporating into my builds, I didn't get it here, mainly because I got Boundless Spirit, and it's such an expensive item. Warpstone is a really, really great item on Geist. It gives you weapon damage. It gives you spirit power. And so when you have those things, plus the mobility it gives you, that's kind of like an ideal item for Geist because you can't get mobility from your kit, so you got to get mobility from items. Warpstone is a really great buy. I didn't buy it here, but I think that's another item I'd really highly recommend at this point, and something that I've started getting a lot of.
The amber hand will stand triumphant. Today, the sapphire flame will fail.
Lash is looking to pick someone off.
So it looks like this game's wrapping up. You know, I don't think there's a lot of other things I need to say about Geist. Really fun character. You can really become a raid boss in a lot of cases when you get certain items like Leech, and it's just a really fun play style in my mind. Do we win this? I think we win this here. So I'd just like to say thank you guys for watching to this point. If you watched, if you liked the video, please do all that YouTube algorithm stuff for me. Subscribe, like, comment, all that good stuff. And I'd also like to ask, what kind of heroes would you like me to talk about, commentate on? I'm not necessarily the best at every hero, but we can definitely go find a high-level replay, kind of analyze what that player is doing, why they're taking the items they're taking, why they're making the moves they're making. So if you guys have any hero suggestions, please comment and let me know what you would like to see. Maybe we don't get this here. They're fighting pretty hard for it. No, I think we win. The Infernus was really, really good this game. He really helped carry it. Also, I've been putting the replay ID in the description, so if you guys would like to go into Deadlock and watch this yourselves, feel free. Looks like the game's about to end here, so thank you so much for watching. I really, really appreciate it, and I hope to see you next time.